you could be walking into Alzheimer's and not even know it. And the scary part is, it may not be genetics. It could be your everyday habits that are rewiring your brain for decline.
So what you do today really matters. It can determine whether you have a thriving brain or a declining brain, or even a future you may not recognize.
We recently came across a report by the Lancet Commission. We'll put the link below. But it identifies 12 modifiable risk factors that they say reduces 40% of the worldwide cases of dementia that can lead into Alzheimer's. So it's really important for us to think about this ourselves to make sure that we do the right thing. We read recently, I want to get this right, genes may load the gun, but environment and lifestyle can pull the trigger.
Let's jump into the 12 that we came up with. The first one is managing your high blood pressure and your hypertension. You know, the two numbers, right? 135 over 75, 125 over 85, whatever your numbers are, really watch that upper number and try to manage that below 130. Obviously check with your doctor, but there are things you can do. Exercise daily, lower your intake of salt, make sure you're staying hydrated, and avoid your stress triggers. Boy, that's a tongue twister.
It is.
Stress triggers. And that can help you manage that high blood pressure number.
And, you know, it may be that you need meds. I have high blood pressure, and as a result of that, I'm taking some meds for it. I try everything I can do to reduce it naturally, but the meds keep it down low. So that's how I keep it in check. So if you feel like you have constant high blood pressure, you definitely want to get it checked. The second thing to think about is to really check your hearing. You do not want to be the person at the dinner table or any kind of conversation constantly straining to hear what someone is saying, constantly, having trouble watching TV, constantly saying what, because that adds stress to your life when you're constantly trying to figure out what is everybody talking about. And, it's not easy, clearly. I have a hard time in noisy restaurants. And, I try to avoid certain restaurants that I know I'm going to have a hard time hearing.
Well, we manage our table configuration, kind of who sits where, to really kind of help you with that. But I think it's important. The important part of the hearing loss is to make sure you are staying active, engaged, and joining conversations. That helps with your brain. So let's move to the third one, and it's kind of a full sentence and a full stop, kind of non-negotiable. Number 3 is stop smoking immediately. I don't know if I need to say anymore, but quit today. Your brain begins to heal so much faster when you're not smoking cigarettes because of the blood flow to the brain, the constriction of the veins and arteries that go up and into your brain. It's just, I don't even think we have to.
Well, I just want to add something personal. My mom passed away from Alzheimer's, and it started off at dementia at the age of 67, 68, and she passed away at 80. So it was a very long process for her, and ended up in a memory care unit for 8 years in a nursing home. But she smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day since she was the age of 16. Now, there's no proof that that's what caused...
So really 50 years.
Yeah, there's no proof that that's what caused her dementia. But there's a lot of proof that says it does. So if it does, and you're smoking, and you're worried about dementia, or you're worried about living longer and healthier, you have to find a way to quit smoking. Like you said, it's a full sentence, but alcohol. So Jody and I have an interesting journey around with alcohol. Right now, I'm not drinking at all. And I've been on and off for the last 10 years. And I feel so much.
Has it been 10 years?
Yeah, on and off for 10 years. Well, if I go back even further, because my dad was an alcoholic, I stopped drinking when my kids were 10, 12, and 14 because I thought it would, I didn't want them to drink. So they were in middle school and high school. So I quit for 2 years. So I've been on and off since then. And right now, I don't think I'll ever drink again. But the whole thing with drinking, I don't know of a lot of science that says it's really good for you. Some doctors will say 1 glass of red wine a day is good, but it's poison. It's not good for you. And that's, I guess you could say it's my opinion, but that's my opinion based upon everything that I read.
Right.
Drinking 2 or 3 cocktails a day is not good for you.
Right.
It just isn't.
Right. Not good for you in a lot of ways, not just your brain, right?
Right.
But I think the real key there is to challenge yourself to find some sober joy. Best way to put it is think about a day, a week, a month. Dry January is coming around in the next 4 or 5 months, but find a way to find that sober joy. The next thing is it's very important, number 5, to prevent and treat any sorts of depression you might have. Seek counseling if you need it. Stay socially engaged and active like we talked about when we talked about the hearing. And sometimes even use journaling. I'm mentoring a young woman who happens to be in my family, and I've provided her with a journal and some structure around journaling because she found herself after the loss of her mother very depressed. And it was really starting to impact, her ability to socialize and stay engaged. And short of going to see a therapist, which I'm hopeful is our next step, it's really helped her a lot, the journaling.
Yeah, I just want to remind everyone, that was number 5, I think. These are 12 things you can do to change your life now to reduce the chance of dementia by 40%. This whole idea of genetics, do I have the genetics in me now because of my mom? I have no idea. But I do know that these 12 things I can modify and change that will help with that. Because as I said earlier, genetics can load the gun, but these habits are the things that can actually pull the trigger. The 6th one is preventing traumatic brain injury. So what does that mean? Well, that means making sure you're really good with your balance, so doing exercises that do that. If you're someone that likes to ride a bike or horseback ride or something like that, wear a helmet.
Right.
Even if you think it looks stupid, wear a helmet. I know in Connecticut, where we used to have a home, the law says you don't have to wear a helmet riding a motorcycle. That just doesn't make any sense. I don't care how old you are. But riding a bicycle, it's not about the law. It's about if you do happen to fall, and you can fall, and you hit your head on the pavement, you now have traumatic brain injury, and that can lead to an increased chance of getting dementia.
The 7th one is avoid that social isolation. If you find yourself home alone for more than 3 or 4 days, and you're not sick or you're not contagious, you're just kind of pulling yourself out of mainstream, give yourself a kick in the butt and get yourself back out there. Join a club, join a faith-based organization, join, your senior center, join the Y, do something to put yourself out because it's very important. Even just walking. Sometimes Mark will make fun of me because I'm walking the dog, and I talk to everybody when I'm walking Ruby. And I get to know so many of my neighbors. I get to socialize, outside this house, these 4 walls, with people I don't know. That's my personality, and it may not be yours, but give it a shot.
All right. Number 8, staying physically active. If you've been watching us for a while, you know that that's the core pillar of the 7 pillars of our transformation is our physical wellness journey. You want to spend at least 150 minutes a week staying active. You want to do strength training, flexibility, and cardio. Those 3 things will add to the ability to prevent dementia by keeping your body fit and strong and agile and moving. So even walking 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week, there's research and studies that have done that prove that this 20 minutes a day, 5 days a week can extend your life by 5 years. So why wouldn't you want that? Even that makes a lot of sense. So staying physically active is really critical.
And the next one kind of dovetails off of that, maintaining a healthy weight. Really trying to manage and maintain the amount of packaged and processed foods you eat, the amount of sugars you take in, and monitor your progress weekly. Mark and I differ on this. Mark jumps on the scale every morning. I'm a Friday weigh-in girl because if I know where I am on Friday, it gives me an idea of what the tone of my weekend will be. If I've had a bad week and I've, gained a pound or 2, I know my weekend is going to be full of activity, fruits and vegetables, lots of leafy greens, and 0 packaged and processed foods. In January of this year, we did a no starch, no sugar, no alcohol for a month. Neither of us ever felt better, I don't think.
We did feel better, and we've talked about doing that again because we lost weight, we gained muscle, and we felt energized and active. I don't know why we got away from that. I know we're doing better at reducing the amount of starch and things like that, but if you're obese, and it doesn't take much to be obese, don't lie to yourself. Don't hide it. Don't cover it up. Realize you need to work on that, because that can have a profound effect on your health span, which is living longer, healthier.
Right. We've made a lot of mistakes in our retirement, and we've seen a lot of other retirees do the same. We want to help you avoid them.
That's why we've created a free download, 5 steps to save you 20 years of a miserable retirement. Download it below. All right, diabetes. You want to find a way to control that. I was pre-diabetic 10 years ago.
Yeah.
High blood sugar, high cholesterol. So I've worked really hard on that. I'm no longer pre-diabetic. I'm no longer on meds for that. But I cut out wine because of the sugar. I cut out regular sugar, because it's really additive sugar. Mm-hmm. And I'm really careful about that. And you can do the same thing. Is it easy? No. It's hard. Reducing your carbs, increasing fiber, taking sugar, drinking Coca-Colas and things like that. We just went cold turkey. Now, I will tell you that we don't really do anything cold turkey. We'll go out once in a while and say, I feel like I need a Diet Coke just to taste, but we hardly ever have soda. We don't even have it in the house.
It's funny. I saw an interview with Dr. Mark Hyman, and he was talking to Megan Fox, of all people, on her podcast. And she said, I have 3 children. Talk to me about bread. And he kind of giggled, and she said, what? I know, we're not supposed to eat bread. He said, if you're eating just wheat bread or white bread, not sprouted whole grain bread, 2 slices of bread that you give to your children or you eat for yourself is worse than taking 2 tablespoons of cane sugar and just eating it.
Really?
Because of the way the pounded ground flour processes in your body, it shoots your glycemics up. And he said, you might as well just take 2 spoonfuls of sugar. So insane. No more wheat bread, but sprouted whole grain bread, like Ezekiel bread or something. He said, he's a fan because it has fiber and some other things. But I thought that was wild.
I didn't know that.
Because of all the times we say, let's just grab a sandwich.
I know.
And we think we're doing okay.
Number 11, working on your brain. Working on lifelong learning. There is so much written and so much to be said about exercising your brain, whether it's doing the daily Wordle, the crossword puzzle, any kind of games like that, chess, anything that keeps your mind active where you really have to think is critical as we age to keep your brain sharp. If you're just watching TV all day, you're not exercising your brain. You're not exercising your body. You're just sitting there. They say that sitting is the new smoking. So to watch TV for an hour, I don't know. I think, your stepdad calls it 1 pack. So if for every hour of TV he watches, he says it's 1 pack of cigarettes. He and his buddies get to the golf club and say, how many packs did you have yesterday? Well, I had 4. I watched a lot of TV.
Right.
It's really important to really manage this. And listen, you can watch TV and watch a documentary and challenge your brain a little bit, but it really is important. I don't know if you want to add to that.
No, I think we talk about the sedentary nature of watching TV, which is bad for you, and kind of the mind zoning that happens when you watch TV, which is bad for you. And honestly, unless there's something really great on TV, and I always challenge people that say, I'm watching something great, and then they tell me what it is, and then they describe the story, and I'm like, is that great? But, unless there's something really that hits you, like where you live, I would say, TV is just not
And
good.
We don't watch the news because it just creates stress for us. And we do watch about an hour TV a day. We'll watch one show in a series before we go to bed, like 2 hours before we go to bed, and that's it.
Right.
So
right. And then the last one is reduce your exposure to air pollution, in any way that you can, whether that's an indoor air filter, avoiding your exercise in high traffic areas, anything that can decrease your ingestion of all the pollution that's in our air.
Yeah, that was good. Here's a couple questions our team put together on this topic. This is Lisa from New Hampshire. Markham, you mentioned hearing loss as a risk factor. How do I convince my husband to get hearing aids when he says it's just part of aging? Well, it's a great question, and it's funny because 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, Jody said, you can't hear a thing. You got to go get your ears checked. So I knew that, lack of hearing is bad. And I also know that Jody's constantly saying, I just told you that, I just told you that. So I went to the doctor and I had the test. And the nurse was funnier than hell at the end. She said, you know what? Your hearing is perfect. I go, what do you mean it's perfect? Your hearing is fine. It might be a little rough in a noisy restaurant, but it's rough for everybody. I said, well, my wife is constantly telling me that I can't hear what she said. And she looked at me and laughed and said, then you have to listen better. So it was kind of funny, but I would just tell your husband, you can do a little research on your own. Show him the importance of at least having a baseline. Maybe his hearing is fine. Maybe it's deteriorated a little bit, but get a baseline. And then you could check it again in 3, 4, 5 years to see if it is deteriorating. Nobody wants to wear hearing aids, but they also I don't want to go through life always saying what? It's just not good. What's so funny?
No, but I also know that hearing aids of today are not the hearing aids of years past. I mean, they're smaller, they're electronic, they're Bluetooth controlled by your phone. I mean, there's a lot of advancements. So I think when someone shuts the door, they're thinking of the huge old style hearing aids. Most of the time, you can't even see them.
No.
Hey, we wanted to let you know about something really special and unique that's happening. We know you've been watching us on YouTube, and we appreciate that. For the first time ever, and maybe the last time ever, Jody and I are running a live masterclass in September of this year, 2025, Retirement Reset, from drift to discovery.
It starts September 8th, and it'll go every Monday for 8 weeks. We'll go through our entire theory on retirement drift and work you through our 7 pillars that will help you eliminate the drift in your life.
There's a link below to a webinar that we did just this week explaining everything about it and showing you how you can sign up. We hope to see you in September.
All right, the next question. My mom had Alzheimer's, and I'm terrified that I'll get it too. Is there anything I can do now in my 60s to really change my fate?
Yeah.
12 things.
The 12 things we just talked about today. I probably have, when you do a little bit deeper research, and we did, there are some genes that you can have in your body from passed down. And if your family has a lot of dementia history, you can get some tests done. But I think there's 3 genes that show up that may indicate you are a candidate for early onset dementia, which is before 65. And then I think there's 1 gene that might say post 65 you could get it. But do these 12 things. We love the study that we found, and we're implementing a lot of this and just refreshing ourselves in what we can do to get over the fear. Because, I have the fear. My mom had it. I could get it.
Okay, next is Evelyn from Oregon. You said brain health is built by daily habits, but I've never had a good routine. Where do I even start? Because I've been drifting for years.
Okay.
Start in the morning. That's what I would say. Build out your morning routine. Make sure it's something that you can do, you want to do, and that you'll stick with. Do some habit stacking. So you're putting some things in front of something that you really enjoy. For me, it's that first big cup of coffee. So what can you put in front of that? I'm having terrible hip issues. So in the morning, before I come downstairs and kind of get into the day with everyone that's in the house, I do my stretching as part of my new morning routine.
So I think it's a combination of a new habit of exercising your brain. So reading, perhaps reading a book. I don't know about reading the news, but something that trying to learn something is really important. At the same time, remove some habits that are having the opposite effect. Getting up first thing in the morning, scrolling through your phone, going downstairs, turning on the TV, getting all this stimulation into your brain that's not really learning. It's just an overdose of stimulus that isn't good for you. So reduce that and plug in some learning. All right, Terry from Georgia says, I still work part-time, but I feel totally isolated during my off days. What's one thing I can do this week to reconnect with people who get this phase of life? find the people that get this phase of life. You probably have them in your life. And if you don't know who they are yet, if you need some new community, certainly you can volunteer. Certainly you go to the library and look for people that might look like a similar age. Maybe there's a book club in there. Maybe there's volunteering is huge.
Right.
I don't know the percentage of people that volunteer that are over the age of 65, but it's probably a pretty high percentage. But there's instant community, and people, when you're giving back in this phase of life, I think those people get it.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I would say, pick a day in the week and join a club, whether it's a gardening club, a painting club, a pickleball club, a golf club. Join something, join a walking club. If you look in your local town or community, you'll find something where people meet and gather at the same time every week, which also helps you build the routine.
Yep. I had a head injury decades ago and never thought about it again. Am I already at risk? And is there anything I can do now to offset that damage? That's Walt from Philadelphia.
I think you'd have to check with a doctor.
I think you have to check with a doctor.
Yeah,
and
I'm
it's
not sure.
don't be embarrassed about that. The worst thing to do on any of this stuff, particularly for men, is to hide the fact that you have this problem and you don't want to go see a doctor because you don't want to hear the bad news. Clearly, if there is something there that happened 20, 30 years ago and now it's affecting your longevity, you want to speak to a doctor and find out what are the things that you can do.
Absolutely.
I find so many men that don't want to go to the doctor because they say, I'm fine and I really don't want to hear.
Don't look for trouble.
Don't look for trouble. That's the point of going to see a doctor, is to go look for trouble.
If you enjoyed this video,
You're going to like this one too.
Our capacity to handle stress can diminish. Even our life, YouTube channel, travel, grandkids, our health, our routines in the morning, all of that causes us to get stressful because we have so much to do. So we have to make sure we find ways to reduce the stress so we're healthier.